Sorry about that, guys. My camera stopped recording. I don't know why. Yeah, so like, like I was talking about that pastor, right? When I hear people saying things like that, I am going to call it out as what it is. Okay, that's called stupidity. It's called stupidity. And you need to speak up whenever you come across something that dumb. You have to call it out for what it is. It's stupidity. He was acting stupid. It makes no sense for why a minister. No, he's a minister. So what happened? Like, isn't he supposed to know what God says in the Bible about life? Doesn't he? Didn't he? Did he forget about that one verse where God says that before the foundation or before the creation of the world, I knew you? Why did he forget about that? Or maybe he made up an excuse. Maybe he made up an excuse that, well, maybe in his mind he's thinking to himself, well, God didn't mean that. He meant something else by that. So in his mind, he has an excuse to believe in that idiotic thing about God saying that it's okay to kill babies in the womb. My mother used to tell me all the time that she says, Nancy, you're too harsh. You're too mean. You're too like you're too aggressive. But you know what, guys? My mother's the same way. She's the exact same way, but only when necessary. That's how I've seen my mother from the time I was a child. People will tell her, "Wow, you." And this is the interesting thing about my mother. They will tell her, "You're very straightforward and you say things the way they are, but you don't wound. The things you say are harsh, but you don't wound." So do you understand? Like, she says things the way they are, and she'll use very, very compelling words to describe that situation. Like you can really like feel it, like oof, like you can actually feel it, but it's not meant to wound, and it doesn't wound. Now the person may take it that way, but they have to understand where, like, why a person is using certain words, why my mother or anybody else is using those words to speak about a situation that is outrageous. Do you understand, guys? Maybe you have also... Whew, I'm hot. I'm fanning myself and the air conditioner's not on. So maybe you have expressed yourself in a way where people think that you're being too brutal. But really, you're not being brutal. You're just expressing yourself about a situation that you're so passionate about, and people, they take offense to it, and they think that they don't like what you're telling them. They don't like hearing the truth, right? So when people don't like hearing the truth, they get offended. They take it personally, and they say, well, in their minds are saying, you're hurting me. Why are you saying this? This is not like you. Why are you saying these harsh words? You're not saying harsh words. Well, they may be harsh, but you are only describing a situation, but you're not trying to stab them with your words. You are explaining something. You are explaining a situation away that does make sense, because 1 + 1 is 2, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? You are explaining to them a situation that you can see, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. It's not this way. It's that way. But if the person that you're explaining it to doesn't want to see it, then they're behaving very arrogantly, because instead of seeing what you are trying to help them to understand, they don't want to see the reason. They're only interested in being offended because they don't agree with what you're saying. That's what's happening. They're taking it personally, and they're making it about them instead of making it about the situation that you are trying to help them to understand. No, we're not going outside, Uma, because that fly, those animals are coming around still. Maybe later. Yeah, guys, so my advice to you guys is if you want to continue Like if there's something that you would like to express yourself about to anybody, don't be afraid. Just speak up and tell them. Just say, look, no, it doesn't go this way. It's actually this way. This is what God says about this situation in the Bible. So it's this way. And point out the verse to them. And guys, you're going to come across people who do not believe even what God says in the Bible. There's Andrew Womack, right? He's funny. He's a prophet, guys. Andrew Womack will often say something like this. Some people will not allow the Bible to get in the way of what they believe in. Do you understand? He'll say, some people will not allow the Bible to get in the way of what they believe in. So that means that some people will not allow the things that they have convinced themselves about. Like they won't allow the Bible. Okay, for example, in the Bible it says, just say this, okay. In the Bible it says, well, Uma, stop it. In the Bible God says, don't drink hard, don't have a hard drink, right? I think he's talking about don't drink alcohol. Like hard liquor, I believe is what he's saying, right? So, but some people will say, no, actually God says you can have hard liquor, but just don't drink too much. Don't get drunk. No, God doesn't say that. God says he says stay away from hard liquor, from hard drink. Right? And I think there's also a verse where, is it Paul? Says that you can have a glass of wine like that. In some countries, people have a glass of wine, but in moderation. Now, I've heard some people, some pastors say, don't have a drink at all. Don't even drink wine because you never know how it's going to affect you. Some people can drink wine and they don't become alcoholics, but some people will drink wine for the first time and then they become addicted. They can't help themselves and they start drinking and more. So that's why some pastors will say, don't drink it at all because you don't know how it's going to affect you personally. And for me, I think that's the best way to go. Even though wine and alcohol does not affect everybody the same way, for the sake of it not affecting the person or you, in a negative way where you become addicted to it, in my opinion, I believe it's best to not drink it. I don't drink alcohol. I don't like the taste of it. Right? I'm not trying to judge anybody. I've tasted alcohol, but I don't understand why people like it. I don't understand. I know people that do drink alcohol, but they don't drink it all the time. It's just once in a while. And they'll say, oh, I wish I had a cold beer right now. And I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, it's just refreshing. And I said, but I don't understand it. I don't get the alcohol part. The alcohol part to me doesn't taste good. To me, it's a disturbance. I don't enjoy the strong alcohol. I don't like that. I don't get it. Like one time I tasted this thing called peach snaps or whatever. And I said, oh, that tastes really good, but I don't like the alcohol. I would rather just have the fruity taste in there. If you just remove the alcohol, I will have that fruity stuff. And the person's like, yeah, but then you won't enjoy it. And I said, no, I'm telling you, I don't enjoy it now. I would rather have the fruity stuff. So for me, I never understood the like, what is it about people? What is it about alcohol that people like? Like, what is it? I don't know. I don't intend on drinking it because I don't like it. But I'm just saying I never understood it. I never understood it from the point of view of people who say, oh, a beer once in a while, it's refreshing on a hot day, I don't get it. I would rather, not that I would rather, but I drink like cold water, or I like watered down juice with tonic water in there. It tastes really good for me. And strong ginger in there. It tastes really good for me. It's very refreshing. But I don't understand with the alcohol stuff, right? I don't get it. Anyway. So, now what was I saying? So guys, just make sure Don't be intimidated. If you want to speak up, just speak up. God teaches us how to speak up by expressing ourselves about a certain thing that is bothering us, okay? That's how he teaches us to speak up. And he will present us with situations where he will teach us to speak up. And God did that to me at this church where he was teaching me how to speak up for myself. And then I started to speak up. And I'm still learning how to speak up for myself in certain situations, right? But I'm no longer where I used to be, I'm a lot further along in that growth. So yes, just speak up, guys, whenever you want to say something that really bothers you. Because later, when you're outside of that situation, you're like, oh, I wish I had said something. I wish I had said this. I wanted to say that. I wanted to say that, So just right there, be aware that of your surroundings, of the situation, that you are in the moment where you have the opportunity to speak up, and don't be afraid. Nobody's going to slap you. Nobody's going to jump on you. Nobody's going to do anything. All they're going to do is just say, no, I don't agree with you. Okay, so just speak up. Yeah. And let me see, was there anything else that I wanted to say? Let me see. What time is it? Okay, so now it is 5. Oh, shoot. I have to go give Uma her pill. It is, let me see, 5:08. And I give her thyroid pill at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to go do that. And then I'm going to come back and talk about something else. Okay, guys? Okay. Oh, yeah, one more thing about the people who, that I was addressing, that if, they had an abortion, and if they're not sorry for it, okay, well, then I'm going to be harsh, okay? That's not a good thing, guys. It's just not, because it's murder. It's murder. God says in the Bible that children must never pay for the sins of the father, okay? What he means by that is, when he says father, he means both the parent, the mother, and the father. So even in the case of a rape, children must never ever be killed because of what, in this case, the father did. Okay, so now the mother is punishing the baby because of what somebody did to her, because of what the father did. You don't punish a child for what happened to you. I knew a neighbor, guys. I knew a neighbor. I can't get into specifics, okay, to protect their identity. I knew a neighbor who had something horrific happen to them where their life was almost taken. And this person had a child with the person who tried to kill them. And so, of course, they were no longer together. My neighbor was no longer together with the father. Okay? And, but my neighbor was very emotionally vicious to the child that they had with this person. So every time my neighbor would see, like the child was living with the neighbor, right? The neighbor was living with extended family, and the child was basically being taken care of by the extended family because this neighbor was so emotionally traumatized that they couldn't really, they were not, at the time, they weren't capable of taking care of their child. Now, long story short, they're completely different right now. They're completely different. They are delivered. They're all healthy mentally. They're perfect. They're wonderful today. But back then, years ago, they were different because of that traumatic experience, right? They were nearly murdered. So every time this neighbor would deal with their child, they would be angry. They would become angry with their child and say, "Look at you. You look just like him. You look just like him." Right? So my neighbor was punishing their child because they looked like the person that tried to kill them. So do you understand what I'm saying? They were making their child pay for what the father did. So in the same way, when babies are killed in the belly because of a rape, so now the mother is doing the exact same thing. She's punishing the baby because of what the father did. When babies are born as a result of a rape, okay, that child was meant to be born. Because God says, before the creation of the world, I knew you. Before the foundation of the world, I knew you. That baby was in heaven, and God put that baby in the belly to me, it makes sense that he put the baby in the belly so that when the baby's born, it's a joy. It's supposed to make the mother forget about the rape. But instead of that, they kill the baby. So they're going to pay for that. A rape is not an excuse to murder a baby. A baby's a gift. God says that babies are gifts. They're supposed to make you forget about the pain that happens to you in the case of a rape. So if you were raped, and if you killed your baby, and if you're not sorry for it, that's very unfortunate, because unfortunately for you, you're not going to end up in heaven. Okay, you're going to end up in hell. That's where people go when there's a murder, even if it's abortion, because abortion is murder. So my advice to you, my strong advice to you, is that you need to get right with God and have him, ask him to heal you. And you also need to ask him to deliver you from unforgiveness, because unforgiveness also gets you down to hell. Nobody's getting up in heaven. Nobody's going into heaven with unforgiveness, because God forgave you. God forgave you for what you did to his son. And God forgave me and everybody on the planet for what we did to his son. No sin escapes. No sin escapes. Even unforgiveness does not escape. Even if a sin that was done unto ourselves, if we do not forgive that person, we're not getting into heaven, because God forgave everything. He forgave everything. So how dare we not forgive? Okay? There is no excuse for why we shouldn't forgive. So in the case of rape, you need to forgive. And you need to bring that to God. You need to bring it to God. If you can't forgive but you want to, God will make sure that you do forgive, because the will is there. But if you say in your heart, I will never forgive, then it's finished for you. Because God can't force you to forgive. It's your choice. He's giving you an opportunity because he wants a genuine relationship with you, to change your heart, because he can't use you as long as you have hatred in your heart. Because number one, you're destroying yourself. Unforgiveness causes cancer. Cancer eats away at the person's body, right? So that's what you're going to do to yourself. You're going to cause cancer or some kind of a disease in your body that eats away at the body until you are nothing. So that's why it's your job. It's your obligation. It's your obligation. It's a command to forgive. God says, if you don't forgive, then neither will my Father forgive you. Does the Lord Jesus not say that? You must forgive. If you don't forgive, then neither will my Father forgive you. That's serious. He doesn't say, well, you don't have to forgive unless it's rape. I mean, he doesn't say, you have to give everything. You have to forgive everything unless it's rape. He doesn't say that. He says, you must forgive, or my Father who is in heaven will not forgive you. So every single one of us, no matter what has happened to us, every one of us is commanded to forgive. Okay, so nothing escapes. We can't escape from anything. No matter what people have done to us, we cannot say, well, Lord, it wasn't my fault, so I don't have to forgive. No. The Lord Jesus says, you must forgive, or my Father in heaven will not forgive you. Because the Lord Jesus Christ forgave everything on the cross. He didn't leave anything out. He says, if I can forgive, then you have to forgive. All of us are commanded to forgive. And for people who have committed abortion, even for those of you who have supported someone who have gone to get an abortion, if you're someone who has accompanied somebody, gone to the doctor or wherever to get an abortion, you are also in a lot of trouble, because you supported this person, and you need to ask for forgiveness. You must never do it again. I know somebody. I didn't really know them, but I met them before through a relative. It was the neighbor of this relative. This neighbor accompanied somebody to go get an abortion. Okay? Then the person who had an abortion asked that neighbor, the person who had an abortion asked that neighbor once again, will you please come with me? I have another baby. I want to get aborted. That neighbor said, no, I accompanied you the first time. I will not be a part of this sin again. That's what she said. Okay, so she understands how serious it is. She said, I accompanied you. I went with you the first time. I will not be a party to something like this again, to this sin again. That's what she said. I will not be I will not be a party to this sin again. She said a second time. I won't do it again. Good for her. Okay, and she believes in God, and she still accompanied her friend, but she was convicted and she didn't do it again. Okay, so for you people who have gone with someone to have an abortion, you too, you two are being held accountable. So you need to ask God to forgive you, and you must never do it again, because you are going to be held responsible also for the death of that child. I don't play around when it comes to things like that, guys. Sometimes I'm funny in my videos, but when I see fit, when funniness doesn't come into play in certain topics like this here. Okay, so I might sound rude and harsh and whatever. That's just being offended. You guys are being offended. So just make sure that you get right with God, because sometimes harshness will bring you to God. In some cases. But if it doesn't bring you to God, then that's just you being arrogant because you don't like hearing the truth. I've been there, guys. I've been there when I've been scolded. I don't like it. But you know what? When I sit there and listen to what they actually said, I'm like, oh, you know what? What they said was actually helping me. I got offended because I'm like, how dare they offend me? It's me. How could they say this to me? But then I sat there and I really listened. I said, you know what? What they said was harsh, but they were just telling me something because they were concerned about me and they wanted me to do the right thing. They were giving me advice that would help me to make the right decision about something that I was completely unaware that if I had gone the other way, I would have, a blessing would not have come. I would have got hurt or something like that. I realized, I said, oh, you know what? They're right. How come I didn't see that? Instead, I chose to become offended. That's being arrogant. So I've been there too. It's just a matter of whether we choose to listen to what is being said to us. God says in the Bible something about correction. We need to listen to correction, because when we don't listen to correction, guess what happens? We suffer. Right? We suffer. And it's our own fault. We blame the other person, oh, they hurt me. And then when we get hurt because we didn't listen to what they said, we get all like, well, anyway, that's our attitude. Who cares? Anyway, we don't know what to say because we feel stupid because we didn't listen. Okay, guys? Anyways, guys, I gotta go. I've gotta go feed Uma her pill. Okay, guys, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell so that you will not miss out on any videos that I upload. Okay? If you only click on subscribe, you're not gonna be notified all the time. But if you click on subscribe and the bell, then the bell will notify you for each time that I upload a video. Okay, guys? And yes, I still love you, even though I just gave you, a strong lashing, a tongue lashing. Okay, guys? Okay, guys. I'll see you later. Ciao, ciao.